The Grand Council Hall of the Valen Empire glittered with gold and crystal. Long banners of every color hung from the ceiling, each one representing a different species from across the galaxy. Alien nobles filled the chamber with laughter, chatter, and the proud display of their finest silks, metals, and armor. It was a place meant to show wealth, pride, and power. At the center of it all sat Princess Kalyra, the young heir to the Valen throne. She was beautiful by her people's standards, with sharp silver eyes and hair that shone like white fire. She wore a gown woven from threads of starlight and a crown too heavy for her age. But Kalyra carried it with arrogance, for she believed herself above everyone else in the hall. Kalyra was not known for kindness. She was clever, proud, and sharp-tongued. Her words often cut deeper than a blade, and she enjoyed seeing others stumble under her laughter. Today was no different. She sat on her raised seat, her chin lifted high, her eyes scanning the crowd for someone to mock. Her gaze finally landed on a figure who stood near the outer ring of guards. He was tall, but not towering like the armored Bracon warriors. He was strong but not scaled like the reptilian Dreth. He was not draped in golden armor nor carrying ceremonial weapons. He stood in simple battle gear, a plain soldier among giants. He was human. Kalyra's lips curled in amusement. Of all the species, humans looked the most ordinary. No horns, no wings, no glowing eyes, just flesh, bone, and a face too soft compared to the harsh lines of warlike aliens. To her, he looked like a servant who had somehow wandered into a hall of kings. She leaned forward, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Tell me," she said loudly, pointing toward the soldier, "why does a creature of Dirt World stand guard in a hall of warriors? Did the council run out of true protectors and decide to hire humans?" The hall erupted in laughter. Alien. Nobles chuckled into their jeweled cups. Some pounded their claws against the table in amusement. Even the Bracon warriors grinned, their tusks glinting in the light. The human soldier did not react. He stood where he was, hands clasped behind. His back, his eyes calm and unreadable. Kalyra tilted her head. "Do you not speak human? Or are you too simple to understand my words?" Again, the soldier remained silent. His expression did not change. He was like a statue made of flesh, unmoved by her insults. This only encouraged her further. She leaned back in her seat, smirking. "I hear humans live on fragile worlds with thin air and weak gravity. Is it true that you bleed at the smallest cut? That you cannot even survive a single season on a death world? What use is a species that breaks so easily?" The laughter grew louder. Some aliens clapped in agreement, while others whispered jokes about fragile human bones. Kalyra soaked in their amusement like sunlight. She loved being the one who set the room ablaze with mockery, but deep inside, a small part of her felt unsettled. The soldier did not look broken. He did not look weak. He simply stood there watching her with steady eyes. They were not angry, not ashamed, but sharp and cold, like blades hidden under snow. Kalyra brushed away the thought. Surely he was just too afraid to respond. "You stand among warriors, yet you hide in silence," she pressed on, her voice dripping with arrogance. "Is that what humans do? Stay quiet and hope others will protect them?" The soldier finally shifted. Not much, just a small step, the faint sound of his boots against the polished floor. His eyes locked with hers, and for the first time Kalyra felt a strange chill crawl up her neck. It was not the look of fear. It was not the look of shame. It was something else, something she could not place. The hall grew quieter as nobles noticed the way the human was staring at their princess. It was not disrespectful, yet it was not submissive either. It was steady, unyielding, like a mountain facing the wind. Kalyra's smirk wavered, but she quickly straightened, refusing to show doubt. She waved a dismissive hand. "Say nothing then. Your silence proves me right. A soldier who cannot speak for himself is no soldier at all." The laughter returned, though softer this time. Some of the nobles glanced uneasily at the humans' calm expression. They did not laugh as freely as before. The soldier gave no answer, His eyes moved away from Kalira and swept the hall as if her words carried no weight. He returned to his silent duty, his posture unbroken. For the first time that evening, Kalira felt her victory was incomplete. She had mocked him, but he had not fallen. She had insulted him, but he had not reacted. And in some strange way, his silence felt heavier than her words. She turned her gaze away, forcing herself to laugh along with the others, yet a question lingered in her mind. Why had his stare unsettled her so much? The council session continued, but Kalira's attention kept drifting back to the human soldier standing so still among the giants. She told herself he was nothing, just a weak creature from a fragile world. Yet the more she repeated it, the less she believed it. The human said nothing that day, but his silence spoke louder than any words could. And though Kalira did not yet know it, she had just crossed paths with a man whose name the galaxy whispered in both fear and respect. The council hall was filled with talk, trade deals, and political arguments, yet Princess Kalira found her thoughts drifting again and again toward the human soldier. She told herself it was foolish. He was nothing, just a guard placed at the edge of the chamber, silent and plain. Still, she could not forget the way he had looked at her. His eyes had been calm, too calm, as though he carried something far heavier than her mocking words. It was not the stare of a servant, nor the frightened gaze of someone beneath her. It was the stare of someone who had seen storms, battles, and fire, and walked through them without breaking. Kalira tapped her fingers against the arm of her throne. Around her, nobles argued about trade routes and starship rights, yet she heard none of it. Her mind was caught in that moment of silence, and it gnawed at her pride. Why had he not reacted? Why had he not lowered his head? Why did his silence feel stronger than her voice? That night, after the council session ended, Kalira found herself walking through the long marble corridors of the station. Servants bowed as she passed. Guards followed a few steps behind. But her mind remained restless. She had mocked countless beings before. Most either argued back or bowed in shame, but never had someone simply stood there and left her unsettled. She decided she needed answers. The next day, Kalira began asking questions. She called over a Dreth noble, a scaled alien with eyes like burning coals. "Tell me," she asked, her voice casual, "what do you know of humans?" The Dreth snorted, his sharp teeth flashing. "Humans, a minor species. Their worlds are soft, their bones weaker than ours. They fight with numbers and tricks, but they are no true warriors." Kalira nodded, though she was not satisfied. Later she asked a Bracon warrior, a huge tusked being in heavy armor, "And what of humans? Do your people respect them?" The Bracon gave a deep laugh. "Respect? They are small and fragile, but—" He paused, lowering his voice. "I have heard they do not break as easily as they look. Some say humans fight like cornered beasts when pushed." Kalira tilted her head. "Cornered beasts?" "Yes," the Bracon rumbled. "Desperate, dangerous. There are whispers of human commanders who outthink fleets larger than their own. But who can say what is true? Rumors spread like smoke." The princess dismissed him, yet his words clung to her. Desperate. Dangerous. Rumors. By the third day, Kalira's curiosity had grown into a quiet obsession. She found herself watching the soldier from afar. While other guards shifted, coughed, or glanced around the chamber, the human stood perfectly still. He seemed both ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. His gear was plain, his stance simple, yet there was discipline in every movement. Once, when a servant dropped a tray of crystal cups, the crash startled everyone. Guards turned their heads, nobles gasped, and the hall filled with whispers. The human soldier, however, did not flinch. His hand moved only slightly toward the weapon at his side, then relaxed once he judged there was no danger. It was a small action, but Kalira noticed it. Swift, precise, controlled. He was no ordinary guard. One evening, while walking past a pair of alien guards near the lower halls, Kalira overheard a whisper. "Do you know who that is?" One voice said quietly. The other guard snorted. "Just another human. No." The first insisted. That is no ordinary soldier. That one carries a name feared even by warlords. Kalira froze mid-step. Her eyes narrowed. Feared by warlords? A name? She wanted to demand they explain, but by the time she turned, the guards had fallen silent at her presence. They bowed and said nothing more. The words echoed in her mind all night. No ordinary soldier. A name feared even by warlords. She could not sleep. She paced her chambers, the glow of the stars outside her window painting silver lines across the floor. What kind of human soldier could earn such whispers? Why had no one told her? And why did his silence still weigh heavier than her proudest laughter? By the next morning, Kalira had made a decision. She would not ignore this puzzle any longer. If no one else would tell her the truth, she would find out herself. She ordered her guards to remain behind and walked down toward the lower halls of the station, where the soldiers kept their posts between council meetings. The air was cooler, there quieter, away from the noise of nobles. And there he was, standing alone, the same as always, his back straight. Princess Kalira could not get the human soldier out of her mind. His calm presence, his silence, and the whispers she had overheard gnawed at her pride. For the first time, she felt a mix of anger and curiosity. How could a simple human inspire fear and respect without even speaking? She decided to confront him directly. The following morning, she walked through the quiet corridors of the station, her white gown flowing behind her. The guards bowed as she passed, but she ignored them. She needed no audience, only him. When she reached the human's post, he was standing perfectly straight, his hands clasped behind his back. He looked exactly the same as the day before, calm and unshakable. You, Kalira said, her voice sharp. Human. I demand you tell me who you are. The soldier did not respond. He tilted his head slightly, studying her, his expression unreadable. I am the princess, she added, a hint of impatience in her tone. You will answer me. Still, he said nothing. Kalira's silver eyes narrowed. Most beings she commanded would either bow, flee, or speak out of fear. This one, he did none of those. He simply stood there. Frustrated, she leaned closer. Do you not understand me? I am asking you, who are you? What do you do here? How can you stand among warriors and do nothing? The human's gaze held hers for a long moment. It was steady, firm, yet calm. Finally he spoke, his voice low but clear. I am here to do my duty, he said. Kalira scoffed. Duty? Duty is what slaves speak of. You do not even deserve to stand here. His eyes did not waver. I serve because it is required, not for praise, not for fear, only duty. She blinked, caught off guard by the simplicity and strength in his words. Most warriors she knew boasted, bragged, or demanded respect. Yet, here was a human who commanded respect by saying almost nothing. I have heard whispers, Kalira pressed, trying to regain her pride. They say you are more than you seem, that you have fought battles beyond your kind. Is this true? The human remained silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. I have fought many battles. I survived where others did not. Kalira's heart skipped. Something in her chest shifted, part fear, part curiosity. She had mocked humans, believing them weak and fragile. Yet here was one standing before her, calm, confident, and clearly experienced in war. Tell me your name, she demanded. I must know who stands before me. The soldier paused. His eyes met hers again, steady and unyielding. I am Commander Darius Holt, he said finally. Kalira froze. The name was familiar, though she had never expected to hear it firsthand. It had been whispered in shadowed corners of the galaxy, spoken with both fear and respect. Stories of his leadership had reached even the farthest outposts of the Valan Empire. He was a human who had survived impossible odds, led his soldiers through traps, ambushed stronger fleets, and outwitted commanders who had ruled sectors for decades. She swallowed, her mouth suddenly dry. You are the Darius Holt? She whispered, more to herself than to him. He nodded once. I am. And I serve my duty, as always. Kalira stepped back, unsure whether to feel awe or shame. All her arrogance, her laughter, and her mockery felt hollow in that moment. She had judged him by appearance alone, yet he had proven himself, far beyond what she had imagined. Why? She asked softly. Did you not tell me? Why did you let me mock you? Darius's voice was calm, almost gentle. There is no need to correct the arrogance of a child. Actions speak louder than words. You will learn this soon enough. Kalira's silver eyes widened. He spoke as if he could see straight through her pride, her childish arrogance. She felt her cheeks burn. She had assumed she was clever, that she could tease and control anyone in the hall. Yet this human, silent for days, now held more authority than she ever had. She began, but words failed her. Darius did not wait for her to finish. He turned his attention back to the hallway, scanning for any sign of danger. He was a soldier, always vigilant, always aware. Kalira realized that even his movements were controlled and purposeful. Every step he took, every glance, carried weight. For the first time, she truly saw what it meant to be human. Not weak, not fragile, not insignificant. Humans were disciplined, patient, and clever. They survived where others fell. They fought not for pride, but for purpose. And Darius Holt, he was the living proof of that. Kalira took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She had mocked him, ridiculed him, and thought him beneath notice. Yet here he was, standing tall, calm, and unshaken. She had expected words to crush her pride, but his silence, his calm, and his reputation did far more. You are remarkable, she admitted finally, her voice low. Darius glanced at her, not with arrogance, but with quiet acknowledgement. I am only human. I do what is required. That is all. Kalira felt a mixture of frustration and admiration. She had believed she understood power, respect, and fear. Yet all her lessons seemed small compared to what this human embodied, and though she did not yet know it, this encounter would change her. The young princess, proud and sharp-tongued, had met someone who would teach her humility, discipline, and the true meaning of strength. She had mocked him. She had laughed at him. She had believed herself above him. But now, Princess Kalira realized she had underestimated humans, and Commander Darius Holt had only just begun to show her why she should never do so again. The day began with a calm that almost felt too quiet. Princess Kalira walked through the council chambers with a lighter step than usual. She had spent the night thinking about Commander Darius Holt. His presence haunted her thoughts, not in fear, but in awe. She could not stop replaying the moment. He had revealed his name, the name whispered across the galaxy with both fear and admiration. She remembered the first time she mocked him, how the hall had laughed at her words, how wrong she had been. The human had not reacted, had not begged or cowered. He had simply been steady, calm, and completely unshaken. Kalira approached the lower hall where Darius now stood, still observing the guards and the quiet corridors with careful attention. His gaze was focused, alert to every shadow and movement. She started, hesitating. I owe you an apology. Darius glanced at her but said nothing. His silence, as always, carried weight, and Kalira felt herself struggling to find words that could match it. I mocked you, she continued, called you weak and fragile. I thought humans were unworthy of respect. I see now that I was wrong. Darius finally looked at her, his eyes calm and serious. Words mean little. Actions reveal truth. You will learn this with time. Kalira lowered her head, humbled. For the first time, she felt the weight of her pride. She had judged someone by appearances alone, and she had been completely mistaken. Before she could speak further, the air around the council hall shifted. A faint vibration ran through the floor beneath her feet. At first it was subtle, almost easy to ignore. But within seconds, alarms rang through the station, red lights flashed, and an urgent voice echoed through the corridors. "Warning! Intruders detected! Unauthorized vessels approaching!" Panic spread quickly among the nobles. Many ran to their positions, while others shouted orders in confusion. Kalira's advisors scrambled, unsure what to do. The council, usually a place of debate and ceremony, was now chaos. Kalira's eyes immediately sought Darius. He was already moving, precise and controlled. His voice rang out, calm but commanding. "Positions. All guards report to stations. Secure the council. Evacuate civilians only if necessary." The hall froze. Darius Holt, the human soldier she had mocked, was giving orders. And every guard, Valen, Brakon, Dreth, and others, immediately obeyed. No hesitation. No doubt. Kalira's heart raced. She had seen many battles in the reports, but never had she witnessed command executed so flawlessly. Every instruction from Darius was followed instantly, and yet there was no shouting, no anger, only authority. The intruders were closer now. From the observation windows, she could see sleek, black ships moving fast through the station's orbit. Their markings were unfamiliar, alien designs that suggested a species both organized and dangerous. "Princess," Darius said without looking at her, "stay behind cover. Observe, but do not interfere. Trust the plan." Kalira felt the urge to argue. She had been taught that royalty should be at the front, directing the defense. But she recognized the truth in his words. To disobey would be chaos. To follow would save lives. The alien raiders struck with sudden precision, targeting the outer defenses first. The guards responded exactly as Darius had instructed. Some soldiers who had seemed clumsy or uncoordinated suddenly moved with deadly precision. Every human, every alien, every warrior in the hall acted in harmony. Kalira watched, astonished. The man she had mocked weeks ago was now a living example of human discipline and intelligence. She had laughed at him for being silent and ordinary. Now she saw that his calm had been power all along. Minutes passed like hours. The raiders pushed closer, yet under Darius's leadership, every attack was countered. Shields raised, weapons fired, and alien soldiers moved in patterns that seemed impossible for beings of such different species to coordinate. Kalira's pride, which had once ruled her every action, was replaced with respect. She could not deny the truth. This human soldier, Commander Darius Holt, was more than she had imagined. He commanded not by rank, but by intelligence, experience, and a calm that inspired everyone around him. Finally, after what felt like endless tension, the raiders withdrew. The station had survived the attack, but the tension lingered like a shadow over the council hall. Even as the alarms silenced and the flashing lights dimmed, whispers of Commander Darius Holt's brilliance echoed through the corridors. Nobles and soldiers alike spoke in hushed tones, praising the calm authority that had turned near defeat into a flawless defense. Princess Kalira stood near the edge of the hall, her hands resting on the edge of a railing. She watched Darius move among the soldiers, issuing precise instructions, checking positions, and observing the status of every unit. Each order was short, clear, and immediately followed. There was no hesitation, no argument, only absolute obedience. For the first time, Kalira felt the full weight of human leadership. This was not about strength of arms or flashy displays of power. It was intelligence, discipline, and clarity of mind. Darius did not need to shout or command with arrogance. His presence alone inspired respect. A Brakon officer approached, bowing slightly. "Princess," he said, his deep voice carrying a hint of awe. "That human, he has saved the council." His orders were followed without question. Even my warriors obeyed instantly. Kalira nodded, unable to speak. She had witnessed it herself. The human soldier she had mocked, laughed at, and dismissed had turned chaos into order with nothing but calm authority and careful strategy. Darius moved to a communication console and tapped a few buttons. Holographic displays showed the positions of remaining ships, the status of defenses, and the location of all personnel on the station. He analyzed everything quickly, making calculations faster than any alien commander could follow. Reinforce the North Corridor, he said to a Dreth officer. Place shields at maximum capacity. Keep the outer airlocks monitored. Civilian zones must remain secure. The officer nodded, moving to relay orders. Darius turned to another group, then another. Every command was given efficiently. Every soldier knew what to do. The station ran like a single machine under his guidance. Kalira's eyes followed him, as he paused to check on a group of younger human recruits. They were frightened, unsure, and trembling from their first real encounter with battle. Darius knelt slightly, speaking softly but firmly. You are not weak. You are trained. Trust yourselves. Trust each other. Follow the orders, and you will survive. Together we are stronger than the enemy thinks. The recruit straightened, nodding with renewed determination. Kalira felt a pang of admiration. He did not rely on fear to control soldiers. He inspired them with words, presence, and clear purpose. She had thought humans fragile and weak. Yet here was a man who could calm the frightened, organize the inexperienced, and lead an entire station under attack without faltering. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the console. Another ship had entered the station's orbit, moving with aggressive intent. The nobles panicked, unsure how to respond. Darius's voice rang out, calm but commanding. All units form defensive perimeter. Target engines first, keep shields active. Civilian areas remain secure. Soldiers moved instantly, their actions synchronized as if they had trained for years under a single leader. Darius walked among them, adjusting positions, encouraging, correcting, and coordinating every detail. He was everywhere at once, yet always calm, always steady. Kalira's chest swelled with both pride and humility. She had mocked this human, believing herself clever and superior. Now she watched him turn chaos into order, fear into courage, and uncertainty into absolute efficiency. The alien nobles, who had once laughed at humans, now whispered in awe. Even the proud Vaylon generals lowered their heads, acknowledging that Darius Holt's leadership had surpassed any of their expectations. Minutes passed, and the new raider ship retreated. Darius's strategy had forced them into a defensive position and allowed the station's weapons to deter the threat without unnecessary damage. Once again, the human soldier had turned potential disaster into control. Kalira approached him carefully. Her silver eyes reflected both humility and wonder. Commander, she said softly, I see now. You are more than I could have imagined. I misjudged you, underestimated humans, and Darius looked at her, his expression calm, not mocking, not boastful. You are learning, he said simply. Do not judge by appearances. Strength is measured by action, by purpose, by the ability to remain steady when others panic. Kalira bowed her head slightly, a rare gesture of respect. I understand. Thank you for showing me. Darius nodded once, turning back to the remaining soldiers. Maintain vigilance, the threat may return. Prepare for any scenario. We are not yet finished. Even as he spoke, Kalira realized that leadership was not just about winning battles. It was about presence, patience, intelligence, and the quiet, confidence that allowed others to follow without question. Darius did not demand loyalty. He earned it by example. She felt a change within herself, a shift in how she viewed humans and leadership. For the first time, she understood that her arrogance and pride had blinded her. She had mocked a human soldier, thinking him fragile. Yet he had shown her courage, wisdom, and authority far beyond her own. The council hall slowly returned to normal, but the impression left by Darius remained. Nobles and soldiers alike moved with purpose, confidence, and respect for the man who had saved them. Kalira watched silently, absorbing every detail of his actions, his discipline, and his calm authority. For the first time, she felt that humans could teach lessons no amount of study or royal training could provide. They were clever, disciplined, and capable of greatness beyond appearance. And Darius Holt was the embodiment of that truth. Kalara knew that this lesson would stay with her forever. She had mocked, doubted, and laughed at a human soldier. But now, she had witnessed his brilliance, his leadership, and the power of quiet, authority. She would never make the mistake of underestimating humans again. As Darius returned to his post, still watching, still coordinating, Princess Kalara realized something important. Respect was earned, not demanded. And in the galaxy full of proud aliens, she had learned that the greatest respect could come from the most unexpected source, a human who had proven, without arrogance, that silence and action could speak louder than any words. The council hall had returned to its usual state, yet the air felt different. Princess Kalara walked through the corridors with a new awareness. Every glance she cast toward Commander Darius Holt reminded her of the lesson she had learned. Strength was not always loud, and power was not always visible. She had mocked him once, doubted him once, and now she could not ignore the respect she owed him. Darius stood near the edge of the hall, reviewing reports from the recent attack. His calm presence contrasted sharply with the nervous nobles around him. Soldiers moved efficiently under his guidance, each action precise and confident. Kalara felt a strange mix of admiration and humility as she observed him. She approached him carefully, her silver eyes soft but curious. "Commander," she said quietly, I wish to speak with you." Darius turned to her, his expression calm, but there was a hint of acknowledgement in his eyes. "Of course, Princess," he replied, his voice steady. Kalara took a deep breath. "I have learned a great deal in these past days, about humans, about leadership, about strength. I mocked you because I did not understand. I doubted you because I was proud and foolish." Darius remained silent, listening. His calm gaze encouraged her to continue. "You showed me that. Action is stronger than words, and that true strength comes from purpose and discipline. I owe you respect, Commander Holt. More than I have ever owed anyone." Darius nodded once. "You are learning quickly. Understanding is the first step to respect. Humility follows naturally." Kalara felt her chest swell with a mixture of pride and shame. She had been proud for so long, believing herself clever and wise. Now she understood that true wisdom came from observing, learning, and respecting those who earned it. The princess hesitated, then asked the question she had avoided for days. Why did you not answer me the first time I mocked you? Why let my arrogance go unchecked?" Darius's voice was calm, almost gentle. "There is no need to correct arrogance with words. Arrogance disappears when one sees truth in action. I did not need to answer. You would learn eventually." Kalara lowered her gaze, realizing the truth in his words. She had learned far more from watching him than she ever could have from arguments, debates, or displays of power. His silence had been a teacher, and now she understood its lesson. A sudden alert flashed on the console, drawing their attention. Another patrol had detected a small vessel drifting near the station, seemingly lost. The council was tense, unsure whether it was friend or foe. Darius moved toward the console, assessing the situation with the same calm authority he had displayed in battle. "Prepare an inspection team," he ordered. "Caution, but do not panic. The situation is under control." Kalara observed silently, noting the confidence and clarity in his every decision. Even the council generals, who had once considered humans inferior, deferred to his judgment. She realized that leadership was not about titles or royal birth. It was about presence, intelligence, and the ability to inspire others to act with precision. After the inspection team was dispatched and the small vessel confirmed harmless, Kalara finally spoke again. "Commander Holt," she said, her voice steady now. "I wish to apologize properly, not for the station's